Like, was this ongoing where they were pressuring you into
No,
signing these
no.
agreements?
This is after I fought GSP for the welterweight title. Right, I was 8-0 in the UFC. I lost a decision in GSP, and then I refused to sign the video game agreement. So they cut me. They cut me from the promotion, and they strong armed me because I wasn't going to stay with them. I was going to go to Strikeforce. So they threatened to fire all of my teammates if I didn't re-sign with them, and they weren't going to make any changes to the contract. So basically, I had to re-sign with them under threat of my teammates being kicked out of the UFC and my management company not being represented in the UFC ever again. So they kind of held me under duress to force me to sign a contract that I didn't want to. And then once I did that, they brought me back and I won another 5 fights, and they kept, just messing with me the whole time. They didn't like the fact that I was standing up for an actual sports system. I didn't even know what the dollar signs were and how much they were stealing from guys at that time, because it was all secret. They're a private company.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like, around that time, like, you were winning fights, like you mentioned, and like, just your opponents too at the time. Did you feel like they were trying to set you up and throw you to the wolves type of thing?
Always fought the toughest guys that nobody had ever heard of. Like, there was no reason for me not to be fighting the other big names. There was Martin Kampmann was floating around, Dan Hardy, Carlos Condit, the Diaz. There was plenty of fights for me to fight. Even Jay Shields. There's plenty of fights with big name guys that they could have thrown me into, but they did whatever they could. They still put me in the main card because they wanted to use my name because I had won a lot of fights, and they needed that credibility to add to their card. And then I fought guys that were undefeated, had one loss, had never been finished, super, super tough tank type fighters. And it was just a no-win battle a lot of times.
And also, like, during this time, I remember like watching as a fan at the time. And was there like ever an opportunity for you? Like, did they tell you before the fight, this might be a title eliminator, or if you win this, you might be one fight away from a title fight, just to get you?
That was when I had my UFC 117, when I fought Thiago Alves for the second time. That was supposed to be a title eliminator. I was supposed to fight GSP next. Even if you go back and watch the DVD, the announcer will say, "Congratulations, Jon Fitch, for earning another title shot." But at the press conference, they started floating around the idea of me and making me and Koscheck fight, because they really didn't want to give me an opportunity to. Even though I had beaten everybody else, I'd been number 2 for a long time. I had won another 5 fights in a row. They came up with an excuse to force me to fight BJ instead.
And then that was a draw that led to Johnny Hendricks.
Yeah, and that was a draw, and that was that whole camp was a big mistake because I went vegan.
Oh,
right? So I lost a lot of size, lost about 10 pounds of muscle, and then I got injured, and that ended up resulting in shoulder surgery, and that took me out for 9 months. And then my body was kind of decimated because I wasn't eating right, and I couldn't train right. I come back for the Hendricks fight, and the first hard day of training, I blew my MCL, so I had like a secondary sprain in my MCL. I went and got the PRP injection stuff into it, and I just didn't tell anybody how bad it was. But that should have been a fight I pulled out of.